Ease, we're all about calculating the best high for you. Ran out of shows to watch for the second time this week? Order an indica pre-roll. Social distance park hang? Pair that awkward picnic with a vaporizer. See, we're like your weed guy, but 420% nerdier. So just worry about when you're going to take that edible and let us do the rest. Ease, highly calculated cannabis delivery. Get 30% off your first order with promo code NERD at ease.com. That's EAZE.com.
Try Good Catch Foods for 100% plant-based seafood that is truly off the hook. Saving the ocean feels good, and the taste, delicious. Go to goodcatchfoods.com to learn more, or shop online.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. What's going on, everybody? So, we had our first live video stream the other night on the 30th, and there was a lot of good feedback. So, I've decided that we'll do it every single Sunday, and we'll start with that tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., same time, same bat channel, same process. We'll hop on and I will do a live episode. Take some questions, we'll BS, we'll talk about the week, what we've discussed throughout the week. We'll wrap it up on Sundays if there's no new news to get to. And we'll do that in live video format. And also, it'll be an open forum as well for you to ask questions, again, about whatever the case, anything else that's going on in the news that you might want to talk about, whatever. And we'll use those Sundays for that purpose so that we can engage with each other. And if you have a question for me or a comment or some sort of criticism or whatever it might be, pop on in and let's talk about it. Again, there's a lot of times where I might miss an email or something like that. There are a lot of them, folks. And as much as I try to stay on top of it, some of them slip through the cracks. So if you have a question that you want me to answer or there's something you want to talk about, then Sundays, that's going to be the day. That's going to be the day where we open it up and we'll get into the weeds about whatever it is you folks want to talk about. So, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, same format as last time, Facebook, live broadcasted on the podcast, and we'll rock and roll. So, I hope to see you all there tomorrow night. Now, there are a few outlets that have been absolutely ridiculous when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case. But none of those outlets have been more ridiculous than Newsmax. Now, I understand, what should we expect from a rag that hires somebody like Alan Dershowitz or Wayne Allen Root? We shouldn't expect much, I get it. But these people over at Newsmax are the quintessential establishment-protecting scoundrels that we're always talking about. They like the status quo. They like the system the way it is. You know why? Because these high-profile lawyers like Jonna Spilbor, who we're going to talk about tonight, they love the system set up the way it is because it maximizes their potential of wealth. It maximizes how much money they're going to make off of their clients as they try to navigate through the disgusting, gross justice system. But Spilbor, she's not interested in reformation. She's just interested in making sure you get on to get on. She wants the way that it's always been to always be. And friends, that is not working. Not for us. Not for the working class poor. And remember, when I say working class poor, I don't use it the same way other people might. I'm talking about all of us who make less than $250,000 a year. Oh, what, you didn't think you were the working class poor? You thought that you might have been upper middle class or something? Wrong. Working class poor, my friends, all of us. The 99%, all of us. And these people like Jonna Spilbor and Alan Dershowitz, they know the game's rigged against us. They know that the game is rigged against us. When's the last time someone like Alan Dershowitz took on a regular old client from the hood? When's the last time one of these loudmouth, high-profile lawyers stood up and protected those amongst us who are at the highest risk? Not unless a lot of money was involved, not unless a huge retainer was paid. And yet, these are the same people that get up there and preach about morality or talk about how the system's perfect, just exactly how it is, but we have to live by the system. No, the system's broken. People like the lady who wrote the article we're going to discuss today love that it's broken. And the fact that she would be defending Ghislaine Maxwell and crying from the rooftops that Ghislaine Maxwell is not really an evil person, that Ghislaine Maxwell is really just being used as a scapegoat because Epstein isn't here. That's basically the gist of her article. And you know, and I know, that is a bunch of damn hooey. So as much as I hate even giving Newsmax any tread spin here, we're going to dive into the rag of Newsmax, and we're going to read this article from Jonna Spilbor, and we're going to take it apart piece by piece, because that's what these sort of articles deserve. They deserve an absolute evisceration. All right, Newsmax.com. Headline: Ghislaine Maxwell paying for the sins of others. Right off the jump, right? The headline alone, for people like us who know about this case, who have been following this case, and especially the survivors, what, you think the survivors don't see a headline like this and feel sick to their stomachs? After all that's been brought forward, after all of the evidence that has been produced into the public sphere, Jonna Spilbor still thinks it's a good idea to defend the bipedal serpent. And that's well within her rights. No problem, you can defend her. But get ready for people to criticize that defense. Get ready for people to pick it apart. And for somebody who claims to be a great lawyer, somebody with a radio show, somebody who's on TV, you sure are taking up an indefensible position. So either your strategy is bad, or you don't really believe this, and you're just trying to get clicks on your article. I'm going to have to go probably with number one, though, because from what I've seen from the contributors of Newsmax, this is an absolute dumpster fire clown show. An absolute joke is what the Newsmax is. I can't read that trash. I can't read that echo chamber trash. And then you add on the fact that they have Dershowitz as part of their group. Sorry. I will not support anything. Listen to me very clearly, folks. Anything that Alan Dershowitz is involved in. And anybody who brings Alan Dershowitz on board, as far as politicians or otherwise, automatically loses support right away and becomes questionable of character. That's just where I'm at right now. And this whole entire outlet of Newsmax is trash. I haven't even gotten to the idiot Wayne Allen Root who's from Las Vegas. That guy's an absolute moron as well. A grifter, a snake oil salesman, and an absolute buffoon. So it doesn't and it shouldn't shock me that they're all together at Newsmax, but here we are. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into this article by Jonna Spilbor. Ghislaine Maxwell is gearing up for a second bite at the bail apple. This time should be the charm. Now, this article was authored and published on December 21st, so it was before the second bail hearing, right? Before Judge Nathan smacked Ghislaine Maxwell down and told her, as they would say in German, nein. So this is Spilbor pushing for Ghislaine Maxwell to get bail before the actual hearing with Nathan. Since July, Maxwell, the bipedal serpent, has been sequestered at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, facing allegations stemming from her prior association with the late financier turned convicted sex offender, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. The bulk of which accused Maxwell of recruiting, and she has it in quotes, underage women to satisfy Epstein's apparent sexual proclivity for the same. And right off the bat, Jonna Spilbor is showing that she has no idea about the true essence of this case. You're a high-profile lawyer? Again, you're right up there with your boy L. Lynn Wood, obviously. Are you guys all having some brekkie with Bigfoot this morning? What an absolute load of hooey. Air quotes around recruiting? Yeah, because that never happened. What are you, opining for the job, Jonna Spilbor? Are you trying to get yourself on to the bipedal serpent's team? Sure seems like that's where you're pointing. Because anyone who is defending Ghislaine Maxwell at this point is truly showing their own true colors. Maxwell's original bid for bail was rejected by U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan, who posited that Maxwell's risk of flight was so great, even the most restrictive conditions of release would be insufficient to ensure her return to court. This decision was surprising to most legal scholars because it signaled an unquestioned acceptance of the prosecution's proffers while ignoring history, justice, and law. And this is one of my biggest problems with this. Okay, you ready? While ignoring history, justice, and law. F your history, all right? Like Sandor Clegane said, F your water, bring me wine. That's the same way I feel here. Nobody cares about the history. I don't care that a bunch of rich people have gotten off in the past or have made bail. That's what this is all about. This is about changing all of that. And Jonna Spilbor is just, let's go along to get along. I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the Borg. So what does she do? She takes up the position of defending somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell. Because really what she's doing here, and what she's trying to get across, the point she's trying to get across, is that she loves the way the system is set up because it maximizes her potential income. Point blank period, Jonna Spilbor. In its July 14th decision, the court erroneously concluded that Maxwell's financial means and foreign citizenships would afford her the ability to flee the country, despite being tethered to the Southern District of New York by a GPS tracking device. A common tool for that purpose, and one worn by the many moneyed predecessors who have or are facing equally harsh or harsher charges in federal court. Nathan's obtuse reasoning would have one believing for Maxwell, escaping a global positioning device affixed to her ankle would be as easy as slipping out of a Cartier cuff. Yeah, it would be, okay? And your problem here is a common tool for that purpose, and one worn by the many moneyed predecessors. That's the problem. That's what needs to end. And that's the whole point that you're missing, Jonna Spilbor. You're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. You are part of the problem, and you need to be called out on it. This isn't about Ghislaine Maxwell even. This is about you, in my opinion, about your own views, about you, someone who knows how to navigate this system, someone knows how to use this system, and someone who has used it to gain max profit. And you don't want that gravy train going anywhere. You don't want that golden goose fleeced. Everything's perfect for you, isn't it? While the rest of us continue to get shit on by this corrupt justice system, by, in your own very words, all of the predecessors of hers, all of the other rich people that got out. That is the problem. And that is what needs to be solved here, Jonna Spilbor. And that's what we're going to keep pushing for, whether you like it or not. The judge was wrong. No, Miss Spilbor, you're wrong, okay? And I'm not talking about from a legal sense. I don't know the legalese. You definitely know the legalese better than I do. But I know this, the system is broken, the system is corrupt, and you are part of it. You continuously play your part to make sure that this system stays corrupt? Where's your big write-up on the kids in the hood that are in prison? Where's your big write-up on all of the black people who have been stolen from their homes via the drug war? Where is your big write-up on that? It's nowhere to be found because it's about your high-profile clients. It's about you maximizing your wealth. That's certainly the way it seems, Miss Spilbor. Since then, Maxwell's conditions in custody have proven, in a word, punitive, and seriously impinging on her ability to assist in her own defense, down to and including waking her every 15 minutes, excessive searching and full body scans, guards and cameras that follow her every move, and maskless, open-mouth exposure to guards who have been in proximity to inmates that have tested positive for COVID-19. Regardless of the nature of charges or the public sentiment surrounding them, no American should be treated this way. Oh, yeah, well, where are you for all of the people I was just talking about? All of the disenfranchised people of color, poor white people, and everybody else in between. Where are you out there gunning for them and helping them? Where are you writing these big articles admonishing the system for destroying their lives? You're nowhere to be found, Spilbor. You're just another loudmouth, part of the elite circle, laying down cover fire for your buddies. Luckily, the law allows Maxwell to take another shot, and this time, it's her best. Again, in hindsight, you don't know what you're talking about, obviously, Miss Spilbor. You're right up there on the list of L. Lynn Wood, Hillary Clinton, and Sidney Powell on lawyers I would not hire, okay? You bunch of morons. With the benefit of hindsight and the ramifications of a pandemic wreaking havoc inside the prison walls, Maxwell is prepared to pull out all of the stops, including a nearly $23 million personal recognizance bond secured by Maxwell's entire net worth, as well as her husband's. Yes, she has one, and another $5 million from numerous others who love and support her. She has those too. Well, we've proven that this is a bunch of BS, okay? The judge certainly doesn't agree. The public doesn't agree. Prosecution doesn't agree. And all we have is her word about any of this, including the treatment within the jail. Nobody has come out and corroborated that. Judge Nathan certainly hasn't said that her living conditions are atrocious. In fact, Judge Nathan stated the opposite. And as far as COVID goes, she is not at risk with any morbidities, comorbidities, or any sort of ailments. From all accounts, she's a healthy and non-sick person. So, guess what? Like the rest of us, we don't have the risk of catching the vid when we have to go to the store or go to work or whatever the hell we do? Guess what? Part of life. We chose not to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and abuse people. She chose to do the opposite. Guess what? Made your bed, lie in it. And if you want, make a little bit of room so Jonna Spilbor can come in there and you can cry on her shoulder. In a most unusual, perhaps unprecedented twist, the security company, which is to guard her at her expense, is prepared to put up $1 million of its own money to guarantee that they won't let her slip away. $1 million is pocket change to these people, okay? Are we not talking about the same people here, Miss Spilbor? We're talking about some of the richest people in the world with all sorts of assets. $1 million. And what? The security company that we don't even know the name of is we should just take it at face value that they're great at their job? Because the guy has a British accent and says he used to work for the SAS? We should just take him at face value? Sorry. None of this makes sense. It didn't make sense when the request occurred. It doesn't make sense now that it's been denied. And again, Jonna Spilbor, Alan Dershowitz, and Newsmax is probably legitimately a top 5 worst outlet in the business. Maxwell has also, through counsel, enlisted experts both here and abroad to provide legal and other assurances to the court that, should she wake up one day, stark raving mad, and decide to flee, it literally would be impossible for her to get 6 feet outside the designed curtilage before privately paid security guards would release the hounds and pounce. So she's really pumping this right here, right? She's really pumping this. Just like the Jeffrey Epstein guards were going to make sure he didn't abuse anybody, right? Jonna Spilbor. Just like the sheriff's deputies that Epstein paid, out of his own pocket, by the way, we're going to make sure nobody got abused. Shut up, Jonna Spilbor, all right? That's really all I have to say to this lady. And I'd love to have a conversation with her one-on-one. If she'd like to come onto the podcast, her and Brian Basham can come on together, and I'll absolutely eviscerate the both of them at the same time. Gladly. Because this sort of nonsense, this sort of write-up is garbage. This is complete propaganda. It's not rooted in fact or in truth. And it's kind of curious that Newsmax, who employs Alan Dershowitz, is such an ardent defender of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein at what seems like every single turn. I bet if they could use this some way against Joe Biden, however, Newsmax would be all over it. Gotta love the tribalism, don't you, folks? In the long history of similar situated defendants whose cases wound their ways through the halls of Foley Square, Ghislaine Maxwell's proposed conditions of release are so strict they're utterly airtight. Some would say overkill. There was no sound reason for her bail to be denied before, and even less of one now. Flight risk, an abuser, sealed indictment still coming, part of a conspiracy, great means to escape, close to the Canadian border. Do I need to keep going, Spilbor? Or have you had enough? Do you want to continue to have your ridiculous opinion savaged, or have you decided to shut your yap and focus on some car crashes or whatever sort of ambulance chasing you're good at? Because what you're doing here is certainly not something to put on your resume. It's certainly not something to point at and say, hey, look at my opinion about the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Hire me as a lawyer. There's just no legitimate reason that anyone, especially a trained lawyer, would have this thought process, unless, of course, they're just trying to run cover. Maxwell's latest request for bail literally pulls out all the stops, addressing each point on Judge Nathan's seemingly preordained list of reasons to deny the original request in a manner so copious, it's almost a surprise the government objected at all. No, it's not. Okay, it's not a surprise. The government objected because this lady is an extreme flight risk. This lady has passports in 2 different countries, and a country that doesn't extradite its citizens. So what are you even talking about? You're out here championing this bipedal serpent, acting like the justice system is completely coming down on her so harshly. Meanwhile, in literally every single lockup around the country, you can find somebody who is being treated way worse than Ghislaine Maxwell has ever been treated while in custody. But you're not running around flapping your gums about that. You're not talking out of the side of your neck about that, are you? No, you're here defending another one of your fellow travelers, another elbow rubber. Well, Spilbor, you might have thought that this one slipped by us, but guess what? It did not. But it did. Not nearly with the same point-counterpoint precision of its adversary. Instead, the government's opposition can be summed up in 2 words. Ignore it. The fact that Ghislaine Maxwell would forfeit her entire net worth, were she to flee, not to mention $5 million in assets belonging to friends and family, just ignore it, says the government. Yeah, just ignore it, you're right. You act like we know that's her whole entire fortune. It's like the people who point to someone's tax return and say, look, it's not on the tax return, so they obviously didn't get that money. What? We don't know how much money Ghislaine Maxwell has, really. We don't know what her true fortune is. And this whole argument that she'd be giving up on her fortune, blah, 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 it's ridiculous, okay? First of all, we have no idea what that fortune is. We don't know if this money is all the money she has. And even if it was, it's still not enough for what she's accused of. Or that Maxwell would not only be electronically monitored upon her release, but would have private around-the-clock surveillance? Ignore that too, they say, along with Maxwell's willingness to execute a waiver of international extradition. The waiver wouldn't matter, okay? Let me just be clear. The courts don't recognize the waiver if the courts don't administer it. So you think the French courts are just gonna, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. We got a waiver here. That's not how this works, okay? And the surveillance? Epstein was under surveillance. He was still abusing people according to the Virgin Islands and Denise George. Security? Same deal. So this has already been tried, Spilbor, and it failed. How about the long list of wealthy foreign nationals who were previously granted bail before this very court, or the letter of the law for that matter, seemingly applicable to everyone except Ghislaine Maxwell? The government figuratively waves it all off with a dismissive neck referret. Look, all of those other people that got off before her should not have. And that's the point you seem to miss here, Spilbor, and that's the point I'm trying to drive home. You want the wheel to just keep spinning around. I want to smash the wheel. I want this all to be fixed. I want a fair justice system, equal law and equal justice. And to act like Ghislaine Maxwell is being treated badly right now, considering all of the people who are really locked up in real facilities who are really being treated rough, it's disgusting and offensive. While Maxwell's release on bond should be a foregone conclusion, her guilt is far from it. Again, notwithstanding the baying of the hounds in the press. Aw, the hounds in the press, huh? They're the ones who have the problem here. First of all, there's no baying in the press, okay? Where's the New York Times? Where's the Washington Post? Where's all of these big outlets? The Gray Lady. Nowhere to be found. Too busy dicking around with their political tribalism. So easy with the press, all right? You have some independent content creators, some investigative journalists, and then the survivors themselves. Nobody has helped them. The survivors themselves came up with their own methods to get the message out to the people that bypassed the legacy media. So please, enough with the braying of the media, this excuse that the media is the one that had Ghislaine Maxwell in hiding. Stop it. Despite her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell was never on a wanted poster or running from the law. Oh my God, Spilbor, you're a moron. I don't even know what else to say besides that this lady isn't an absolute moron. If she wasn't guilty of anything, and she wasn't going to be convicted of anything, why is she involved in the non-prosecution agreement, Spilbor? Why didn't she waive her involvement with that if she's so innocent? She won't. She can't, because she's guilty. Prior to Epstein's death back in August of 2019, Maxwell was living her life far away from his. A respectable family life which entailed charitable work and making meaningful contributions to society. Were it not for the newly resurrected sins of an old boyfriend, Maxwell never would have become the fodder for such unceasing contempt. No, if she didn't abuse girls with Jeffrey Epstein, she wouldn't have been under this assault of criticism. And contempt, how about you have a little bit of contempt for her or Jeffrey Epstein, Spilbor? Sure seems like what you're doing here is protecting them. Like I said before, are you applying for the job? I mean, you'd be perfect on the team of morons that she's assembled already. Go ahead over there, muddy up the water some more. Maybe you'll have a cool post like Elle Lynn Wood soon telling us that Epstein's alive in a poker game with Jim Morrison and Elvis. The whole lot of you people are crazy, straight up. There is but one place Maxwell can escape from the escape, and that is in our justice system. Nope, she's not escaping there. There's no technicalities for her to escape on this time, Spilbor, and she's certainly not going to get off on the merits of her innocence. Maxwell is not only presumed innocent, but steadfastly proclaims it. In any case like this one, with old, unsupported, and differing versions of events, the credibility of the accusers will be called into question. It is an inevitable, inalienable right to confront one's accusers. Yet to date, the government continues to hide their identities. Ironic, to say the least, when the accusers have all but outed themselves on Twitter, Netflix, and anywhere social justice is sold. So she's victim blaming here. Not only is this disgusting hag defending Ghislaine Maxwell, she's blaming the survivors for taking to social media to tell their story. And what she's forgetting is all the hundreds of unnamed girls that are still too scared to come forward and be out in the public. This lady is abhorrent, this Jonna Spilbor. And her and Alan Dershowitz are the perfect co-workers. Can you imagine that meeting? What those sort of employee meetings must be like? Sure, those Christmas parties are a gas. But social justice is no replacement for actual justice. I actually agree with that. 100%. I'm certainly not one of these social justice warrior type people. And you'll never see me running around and advocating all kinds of stuff like that. That's just not who I am. But what I do like to talk about and get involved when I see something going wrong is something like this. All right, this isn't about social justice. This isn't about people trying to push social justice on the Twitter or anywhere else as part of the cultural war. These people are disgusting. These people are gross. And Ghislaine Maxwell is at the top of the list when it comes to scumbags. Despite the pomp in the press, the case against Ghislaine Maxwell is, as far as I can tell, weak. This is another crucial consideration for Judge Nathan to revisit. You were wrong again. You don't know what you're talking about, obviously. How many articles have you read there, Spilbor? How many pages of court documents have you pored over? I'm guessing none. And I'm guessing this opinion is just based on reading other Newsmax articles. Would you sit down and have a conversation with your buddy Dershowitz? Was he wearing underwear? Were you guys at a naked volleyball game? Inquiring minds want to know, Miss Spilbor. While some may wish to paint the case against Maxwell as one involving minor victims, the accusers are not kids. They are adults. The allegations are decades old and highly contested. Both the court and prosecution agree Maxwell is not a threat or danger to society. The point was made repeatedly by Judge Nathan in her prior decision. Maybe not a threat to society as in she's going to go out and shoot people. But she's certainly a threat to society. What, she's above threatening these girls? She's done it already. How about taking a passport from a girl and threatening that the only way for her to get away is to swim from an island through shark-infested water back to America? Yeah, not a threat to society. Judge Nathan needs to show to the bar, to the American public, indeed the world, regardless of the defendant and regardless of the charges, that her court is a place of reason and the rule of law and not a vehicle for unsupported, sensational accusations. This is unsupported? Literally hundreds of girls have come forward. I cannot wait for the trial, when all of these girls come forward and point directly at Maxwell and say, this is who abused me. This is who ruined my life. And then, after all is said and done, when Ghislaine Maxwell is prosecuted and Ghislaine Maxwell is convicted, we're going to have a spike the ball party here on the podcast. And we are going to absolutely dance on the opinions of these moronic people like Jonna Spilbor. The biggest point of all, Ghislaine Maxwell is not Jeffrey Epstein. No, she's almost worse. A woman who gets the confidence of these girls, grooms them, brings them to Epstein, and not only just for his pleasure, but so she can abuse them as well. And furthermore, it is a big-time stretch to say that these are not children, these are grown women. They were abused as kids. So we're just supposed to forget that? Let's just forget it. No big deal. They were abused as kids. Let's move on. That was years ago. These sick-ass people at Newsmax. This absolute rag. Why anyone would tune into this garbage, I have no idea. For Maxwell to receive a fair trial, it's imperative to stop confusing the two. Having a friend who's an alcoholic doesn't make one a drunk. Well, if you hang out in the barber shop long enough, you're bound to get a cut. Fellow travelers, associates, co-conspirators. When Ghislaine Maxwell says she wants to fight the charges to the finish, clear her name, and then manage to marshal a small army to stand with her for that purpose, perhaps that is why. Did you forget that Jeffrey Epstein did the same exact thing? How did that turn out? You see, people like Spilbor, they love the system just how it is, folks. They love that people like you and I are under the boot. They love that we're under heel. And she loves that she really has the power. Right? She's a lawyer, big-time big-time radio host, etc., etc. She never has to worry about being abused by anybody. She's friends with all of the abusers. But she's going to have to live with these articles when all is said and done. What, these articles are going to go away? Hell no. She's going to have to live with these articles, with what she has said here, and the defense of Ghislaine Maxwell. And you better believe, after Maxwell is convicted, we will be doing a dance on the opinions of people like Spilbor, Dershowitz, and any of these other hacks in the media who lay down cover fire for Jeffrey Epstein or his associates. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI @protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. And to all of you who have donated to the podcast in the last few days and throughout the run, thank you folks so much. It is appreciated, and it'll go to good use, believe that. We got a lot of things coming up, and hopefully we can get out to New Mexico next month like we have planned and take another look around, talk to some sources again, and continue our investigation of Zorro Ranch. And when you guys donate to the podcast and donate to the show, it goes a long way to make sure that kind of stuff continues to happen. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody who's listening, downloading, sharing. You folks are the absolute best. All right, everybody. I'll be back later on, and we'll continue the conversation then. I hope you all have an amazing Saturday.
At Ease, we're all about calculating the best high for you. Ran out of shows to watch for the second time this week? Order an indica pre-roll. Social distance park hang, pair that awkward picnic with a vaporizer. See, we're like your weed guy, but 420% nerdier. So just worry about when you're going to take that edible and let us do the rest. Ease, highly calculated cannabis delivery. Get 30% off your first order with promo code NERD at ease.com. That's EAZE.com.
Is eating fish healthy? Certainly not for the fish. Definitely not for the oceans. That's the reason the Sarno brothers, founding chefs at Good Catch Foods, began perfecting 100% plant-based seafood. Go to goodcatchfoods.com to learn more or shop online.